Cumference and the Isle of Immeter, a math adventure by Cindy Newswander, illustrated by Gang Wehan. Young Pearl sat with her uncle and aunt, Cumference, and Lady Di of Immeter. Her cousin Radius was teaching her the game of innocent edges. A player makes a shape out of tiles, calling out the number of squares used, explained Radius. The first person to correctly count all the outside edges keeps those pieces. Cumference arranged his pieces into a square. It was a 9, he said. 12 edges, counted Pearl, gathering up her winnings. Lady Di made a long row of tiles. It is a 9, she said. Edges are 20, exclaimed Pearl. I love this game. It belonged to the Countess Ariana, said Cumference. She used to live on the Isle of Immeter, just off the coast. A sea serpent is said to guard the place, so now no one dares to go there. That evening, Pearl played the game by herself. She made several shapes with the tiles, thinking about the edges. With squares, I can just count one side and multiply by 4. For rectangles, I can add one long side and one short side together, then double it. Pearl put the pieces away, noticing a picture of Immeter's castle and a teeny word painted inside the box. The Secret of Immeter is the name of the game. Open where inside and edges are the same. That night, she dreamed about the little island and the mysterious message. Pearl woke up early the next morning. He determined to visit the castle and discover its secret. She tiptoed toward the kitchen. Radius was already there. You're up early, he remarked. I'm going to sail and explore the island, her answer. Why don't you come along? Why not? Answered Radius, stuffing an orange in his pocket. That's decent, just popular myth. Radius and Pearl hurried down to the dock. They boarded a small sailboat and headed for Immeter. We'll be there in no time with this breeze, said Radius. When they reached the island, they walked around the castle. They counted 7 walled-in doorways. These doorways remind of a giant inners and edges game, said Pearl. This one has 12 edges. Radius nodded and said, and 12 inners. That was fast, said Pearl, and multiplied the 4 stones down by the 3 stones on the top. Answered Radius. It's quicker than counting each one. In the 5th doorway, Radius said, inners are 16. Edges are also 16, said Pearl. The inside and the outside are the same number, remarked Radius. The inners and edges box said, open where the inside and edges are the same, exclaimed Pearl. Could this be the entrance? She tapped on the door, and the door rumbled open. The 2 clowns stepped inside just as large waves began crashing against the castle walls. Pearl and Radius found themselves in a grand hallway. They noticed a large A in the middle of the floor. That A must stand for Ariana, said Pearl. And look, there's a rhyme around the letter. Count half as many inside as out. This unlocks the towers with a doubt. Count what? Said Radius, gazing inside of the empty hall. What about the key shapes? Answered Pearl. Look at the floor. Keys unlock towers. Suddenly, a window high above them shattered in the shape of the head of the sea serpent. And snake of the head of the sea serpent. Its eyes glowed like green gold, and its scales shimmered like jewels. Quick, let's start counting, Pearl cried as the creature growled at them. She pointed to the first key shape. 28 edges, 15 inners, said Radius. That's not half as many insides out. They tried another one. 22 edges, counted Pearl, but only 10 inners, answered Radius. Then Pearl found one with 24 outside edges. There are 24 squares inside. That equals half of the edges. Q Radius. This is the one. One of the tires loose. Radius lifted up and saw a key. He grabbed it and ran to the nearest tire. Then locked the door, ran inside, and slammed it shut. You're safe now, gasped Pearl. Radius looked at the ribbon tied to the key. There are words on this, he said, where 200 floors squares fit inside. Immeter's secret does reside. How can square tiles fit in on the floor of a round room? Wondered Pearl. Radius shrugged. Right now, I'm too hungry to think. He pulled out an orange out of his pocket. He cut the fruit and gave part to Pearl. This slice like the round tower floor, she said. She cut the piece into 2 halves. Then she stretched out the halves and fit them together there. This circle has been reshaped into a rectangle, a bumpy, lumpy rectangle of the radius. So Pearl cut the 8 orange segments equally into 16 smaller ones. These she arranged into a smoother rectangle. Much better, she said. And we already know how to figure out the inside of this shape, right? Said Radius. It's just with a castle doorways. You multiply one long side by one short side. Half of the orange slice is same as the long side of the Pearl, and the length of an orange segment is about the same as the short side. So we just multiply the 2 measurements to get the inners of the circle. Long side of the rectangle, half of the circumference. Short side of the rectangle, radius. Pearl looked around the room. Imagine that the floor is a giant orange slice I cut and stretched out. Half of the doorway is the same as long as the half of the same side of the rectangle. So I need to measure the distance around half of the tower. Pearl's boot length was the same length as a square tile stone. She counted off 22 steps around the half of the room. I also have to measure the distance from the edge of the room to its center, said Pearl. That's like the short side of the rectangle. You stepped it off 7 squares. Radius multiplied 2 measurements. 22 times 7 equals 154, he said. That's not enough, replied Pearl. We need to find a room with 200 floor squares. Let's keep looking. What about the sea serpent? Asked Radius. They casually opened the door. Everything was quiet. Let's go, said Pearl. Together they scrambled up a ladder and ran across a highway. Down below, the sea serpent erupted out of the water. Reaching out to grab them, it crashed into the stones. The walkway collapsed into the sea just as Radius and Pearl entered a second tower. That was a close call, said Pearl, catching her breath. They climbed up a spiral staircase. At the top, Her and Radius found themselves in a bell tower. I don't think the sea serpent can reach us here, said Per. Let's hope not, answered Radius, peering over the edge. Immediately, Per counted off 25 boot lengths around the half of the outside edge of the room. Then she counted another 8 steps from the edge to the floor center. 25 times 8 equals 200 squares, she said. This is the place. Now what do we do? Look, said Regis, pointing the words in the ceiling. The secrets in the circle are the secret's key. Use the number to signal the sea. This bell could be the signal, said Per, pulling on the rope. Regis covered his ears and counted as Per rang it 200 times. After the last peal, After the last peal, the ocean began churning and forming. The monster rose up from the deepness and faced Per. Before she stood before it, trying not to tumble. The creature's jaws opened and Per could see rows of gleaming teeth. Out of his mouth dropped a jewel locket. Per caught it. Inside was a note. The Isle of Immeter is yours to keep. The Pacificent will protect you awake or asleep. The note was signed by Countess Ariana. Are you the Pacificent? Per asked the creature. The sea serpent snored and bowed before her. Radius and Per returned to the main island riding on the Pacificent. Cumference and Lady Di spotted them from the castle and rushed down to meet them. Merry upon us, they exclaimed. You're riding on a sea serpent. What an amazing adventure, said Per. Tell us all about it, said her uncle and aunt. We'll unlock the secret of the castle, said Radius. Per's now the rightful owner of the Isle of Immeter. We had to find a round tower room that contained exactly 200 floor squares. Added Per. We discovered that if you multiply the distance halfway around the circle by the distance edge to the center, you will know how many squares do fit inside it. Circumference mile. So half of the circumference times the radius equals inside a circle. Wonderful. The next day, Cumference and Lady Di held a special celebration for Per. People from miles around attended. On the behalf of Countess Ariana, I pronounce you Lady Per of Immeter, said Cumference. This adventure has taken a full circle. Per conscious. Thank you, she said. I'm really good at counting edges. Per laughed. Cumference laughed. So you are. For this reason, the outside of any flat, straight shape will be called perimeter after you. What should we call inside of the shape as they die? Let's call it area, suggests Per, in the honor of Countess Ariana and her amazing floors. And every burst into round of applause. And, well, that is the end. I hope you like it. Cumference and the Isle of Immeter.